Good morning, everyone. Good morning on the other side of the screens, and good morning, everyone in the room. For the first edition of the Data Left Unattended, thanks for the organizers, William and Ben. I like your ideas, most of them, yeah, most of them. And I would like to invite you all to spend like an hour about data governance in and with Microsoft Fabric, two of my favorite topics I really enjoy talking about. And I'm Wolfgang. I'm a data consultant. I'm working in Austria at ACB Cubido. Sometimes I blog, sometimes I record some videos, and sometimes I speak at events around the globe. And with that, I'm also an organizer. So if you have time in January 25th and 26th, we've got our in-person event, the 10th edition of our SQL Saturday, Data Saturday. Now it's called Data Community Austria Day. 36 sessions, 43 speakers, 3 pre-cons. Datacommunity.at is your starting point for that. But today, I've got 3 topics I would like to talk about. It's Microsoft Fabric, the new stuff I think everybody talks about in the Microsoft field. Microsoft Purview, the data governance solution, and data governance itself. So the question is it a love or a love-hate, or is it a hate relationship? Let's see. And in like 55 minutes, I hope we know more about that kind of relationship. Let's open the book and start with chapter number 1. It's chapter data governance. So the big question is, why data governance? Many of us talk about data governance. I will talk about what is data governance later, because that's, I think, the hardest thing to define what really data governance is, to find one common solution. But why data governance is important, I got the link yesterday to a recent study about 2,400 BI practitioners, and those are the important topics. So we've got data security and privacy, data quality on place number 2, and data governance, it's place number 3. So that's the current situation on the market. And if we have the time trend, well, we see that data governance is like in the top 3 for several years. And it's really an important thing. And also with all the AI hype, I think data governance is getting much more important for that. Because if you have not the best data, you will not get the best results out of your AI thing. So data governance, to know what's your data, where's your data, who's allowed to work with your data, that's really important. And for the data quality thing, place number 2, we've got a session in the afternoon. Oliver and Tillman will tell you everything about data quality. And I hope that I will mention some points that they have to change their session, as somebody in another country, well, made some fun with other speakers. Let's put it there. So what is data governance? Well, my first thing was to search on it in the internet, and Google and Bing, many different results. So what is data governance? And if I would ask those 2, 4, 6 people in that room, give me a definition of data governance, I think at least 10 different definitions after an hour minimum. So data governance, what's the meaning of the word? It started in Greek long time ago, and it's to guide and steer and manage. So if we put the data and the guidance and the steering and the management together, it's to better understand your data. For me, it's like you can put definitions like pages, 20 pages long, but for me, it's, you will see it later on, it's a quite simple rule how I define data governance. So what's it? I've got, I think, 3 definitions with me for data governance. That one is from TechTarget, and they define data governance as the process of managing the availability, usability, integrity, security of data in an enterprise. And also they talk about the data standards, the policies, and that data governance is there to ensure that data is consistent and trustworthy. So that is really, really important. If you only have data, but it's in bad quality, if you don't know where it comes from, where it goes to, well, it's maybe not the best thing if you rely on that data. Definition number 2, that one is from Talent. They also talk about processes, roles, policies, standards, and metrics. So it's really about not only the technical stuff, how to store and secure the data, but also about the processes, the roles, maybe some legal regulations you have to follow, GDPR, for example. So it's really about the definition. How's your data really starting when it's created? And what are the step processes, people working with the data until the data entry is destroyed at the end? That one is a quite short one. It's out of a book. And I really like that one because it's mentioned that data governance is a required business capability if you want to get value out of your data. So if you want to use your data in a good way, well, you have to treat it better. Which leads me to another definition, which is my definition of data governance. It's like treat your data better. If you don't care about your data, well, your data will say, your problem. Yeah, that's the thing, how I define. And I think I could spend 2 days with other definitions, but now it's time for the EI. So I asked ChatGPT, what is data governance? And I've prepared that one. Yeah, but data governance, I asked Chatty, what is data governance? And I got back similar answers like I had on my screen before. It's about data quality, data policies and standards, compliance and security, data stewardship, and metadata management. High level, really formal definition. And then I asked, hey, I'm 5 years old. What's data governance? Can you tell me more about that? And I don't know if you on the other side of the screen, have you ever been at Ben's office? It's full of Legos. And what ChatGPT returned was, imagine a big box of Lego blocks. And he made 5-6 points talking about data governance in a relationship to Lego boxes and blocks. So you should keep your blocks neat and tidy. There are rules for playing. Make sure no one gets hurt. Sharing and caring of the Legos and know what each Lego piece does. So all the things, compliance standards, regulation standards, whatever, it's like you can relate it to Lego pieces. And then I said, hey, I want to have some pieces for that one. I didn't put them into my slide, but yeah, AI is there, and that one was trained very well because it mentions Lego. So for me, that was a good thing. So now about one possible framework, how data governance can be defined. And when we talk about data governance, it's about the data lifecycle. So whenever data is created, data is edited, maintained, changed during the data lifecycle until the end, whenever it's archived or destroyed at the end. So it spans the whole data lifecycle. And we've got the roles. So who is allowed to do what with your data? We've got the different processes that work on the data all over the data lifecycle. And we've got the policies that are applied maybe from the outside, the standards, the legal definitions, and so on. And we've got the tools. And to be honest, that fourth pillar here should be much, much more smaller. Whenever we start some data governance workshops at some customers, it's often the question or the thing, hey, we install, we configure a data catalog, and we are into data governance. And we've done with data governance. No, tools are there to support us. Tools should help us to be better and be faster during the data governance process, but only to help. Data governance is no like software suite you install and you are into data governance. It's much, much more about the processes, the people, and the policies. And what you need to do in the beginning, if you're not really into the official data governance journey, you should think about the vision and strategy, how data governance is aligned to your business vision, to your business strategy. And what you really need is, here at the top, support from the management. Data governance, if you try to start it on your own, you will succeed for a certain period of time. But if it's not supported by the management, it's hard, because data governance, you need to invest. You need to invest time, you need to invest people, and maybe some euros for some tools. But it takes really that you need the support from the management. Otherwise, it's nice, but I think it won't be that successful. And now it's part for chapter number 2, Microsoft Purview. And Microsoft Purview, it's not only a data catalog. It started, the naming was a little bit confusing in the beginning. It started with a thing that was called Azure Purview Data Catalog, Azure Data Catalog version 2. And that one was really the data cataloging suite, mainly for data processing and data storage systems, databases, data lakes, Azure Data Factory, and so on. And some time ago, there was an email that mentioned Azure Purview is now Microsoft Purview, which I thought it's just a renaming. So no, it was like a complete merger. So now Microsoft Purview is a suite of tools combining the artist formerly known Azure Purview, and now the Microsoft 365 tools, compliance, insider risk management, communication compliance, all that stuff that was there for or from the M365 side, it's all under the Microsoft Purview umbrella. And slowly starting, they are merging. So in the beginning, it was only the similar name, but now you will see it in the demo. We have a starting photo now that is really there. So it's getting closer to each other, but there are concepts that are on the left and on the right side. They do the same, but they are named differently. They are like handled different. So Microsoft Purview, it's the data governance compliance tool suite coming from Microsoft. Today, my main focus will be on the data cataloging part. So the Azure Purview thing in the beginning, how it was named. So that data cataloging idea is to map your data sources in your company, your hybrid data sources. Whenever we talk about the data landscape, it's not the on-premises world only and the cloud world only. So we've got the hybrid sources, and that's what you can do with the Purview data catalog. You can scan your SQL Server on premises, you can scan your Oracle, you can scan your SAP, but also you can scan your Azure SQL database, Synapse, Fabric, data lakes, and so on. So it's really about the overall data landscape. And what it helps you is to find trusted data in your company. And how can you find trusted data? Well, you need to classify data. And there are different aspects how you can classify and tag your data assets in your data catalog. So every piece that Purview finds, it's called a data asset. A table in a SQL Server database, it's a data asset. A file, a folder structure in a data lake, it's called a data asset. A Power BI data set, it's a data asset. So there are different ways how to classify those data assets. And it helps us to understand our data supply chain. So data lineage, where does my data come from? Where does it go to? And what's happening in between? So all those transformations, interfaces, and so on. In addition to all the technical details, well, it's the business that needs to work with the data. So adding some business context to the technical structure is very important. And there's a concept that is called business glossary. And for the classifications, for example, we talk about email addresses. There is an email address in that column, in that specific table. When talking about business glossary items, we talk about customer data, product data. So it's much, much more general, and it's more the business wording, the business naming, how really the people working in your departments, working with the data, how they name it, how they really talk about the data pieces. You can also define policies, who's allowed to read the data, update the data, and so on. So a central definition of your policies. And you can share data directly out of your Purview catalog. So it's the Azure Data Share, which is integrated into the Purview user interface. And just a short look behind the scenes, Microsoft Purview, the data catalog. What's happening when we want to fill that data catalog? We've got our sources. Sources can be on premises, in the cloud, and even not only in Azure, we can also scan Amazon data storages and so on. So we've got our sources defined. And the first step is a scanning process. And that is a scan definition that is defined in our data catalog. And that scan definition does the technical inventory. Let's stick to the example of a database. It reads out all the schemas, it reads out all the tables, it reads out all the column information, the metadata. So what's the name of that column? What are the properties that are defined? What are the data types of those columns? And it's only the metadata. No real data is involved. There's only one step in the whole journey when Purview works with the data. It's during the classification. And only at that step, Purview really opens that data source table, for example, and reads data. Because in that classification step, it tries to match the data to different classification rules. For example, is that data following the rule for email addresses, for persons data, for whatever? And we can also define custom classification rules, like we've got customer numbers in our system that starts with a CU, 4 digits, and that's our customer number. So we can tell Purview to search for those classifications. Everything that is found during the scanning and the classification, it's put into a data map. And that data map is a graph. So we've got nodes, we've got edges, and all the information pieces are put together. So we've got relationships between the column. That column is part of a table. The table is part of a schema. That schema belongs to the database, to the database server, and so on. And also the classification tags that are assigned to, for example, a column, are added to that graph. So everything is put into a graph database. And yeah, we built a data map. So everything is related, and that really helps us whenever we get into the data cataloging part. The data map, it's the foundation, the data storage, the data structures, the information pieces. The data catalog is one of the applications that are based and put on the data map. So you can use the data catalog to search within your network, to search for names of a table, for example, to search for different classifications, to filter by data sources, and so on. And the data cataloging application also allows you to apply business rules, the business glossary that can be defined and also added to all our data assets on that. We've got data insights, so reporting on our data that is in our data map, and we've got some interfaces to the outside. We've got direct integration in Synapse, we've got direct integration into Data Factory, and we've got the open API, the Apache Atlas API. And Microsoft, for the Purview data catalog, they didn't reinvent the wheel. They reused the Apache Atlas framework. It's an open source, I would almost call it the standard of data governance tools. And they are using the data or the Apache Atlas approach and also the APIs. So you can read data from your data catalog using that API, but you can also put your own data, your own relationships, your own information about the system that is not supported out of the box into your data map. We've got also the data sharing. We can start directly the sharing process out of the Purview catalog, and also the policies that can be defined on certain data assets. With that, let's start with a short demo. And where is it? It's here. As I said, the Purview portal changed during the last month. And now we've got the new Microsoft Purview portal, which is in public preview. So I have to, yes, accept it. And what you see here, it's the start screen of our new Purview environment. And it's not only the data cataloging and the data map part that was there. Now we also have those other pieces coming from the M365 part. So we've got direct links into the audit log, compliance manager, and so on and so forth. We've got the data catalog over here, we've got the data policies over here, and we've got some workflows in it. But let's start with the data map. The data map in Purview, it's structured by a hierarchy. So we can define hierarchy based on collections. Since last week, we got a new concept over here, which is called domains. So we've got a new starting point. Before last week, it was the root collection. So Purview Wolfgang, it's the name of my Purview account. But now we've got a root domain over there, the default domain. And in the future, there will be the option to create other domains. So really split all your data assets or your data map into different domains. But with the hierarchy based on collections, we've got some structural elements over here, and we can also define permissions on the collection level. So we've got different permission levels on the different levels of our collection. Collections are only logical groupings. So we need to move to the data sources. And data sources can be defined in the data sources menu. We can start by registering some data sources over here. As you can see in the background, I've already registered SQL Server, some data lakes, connection to Fabric, and so on. But that is the list of supported services. And it's hybrid cloud. So we've got Amazon over here. We've got on-premises connections, like somewhere there should be SQL Server over there. We've got the connection to SAP systems. So different kind of systems that can be defined as sources. And the next step is, whenever we've those sources defined, we need to define scan definitions. So what should be scanned, what classification rules are applied and should be scanned during that process. But I will switch the view to the map view, and that is some kind of, well, it goes a little bit into that data map approach. So we've got the hierarchy of our collections over there, and you see all the sources that are applied. So in my example, I've got the databases collection, which is a sub-collection of the business intelligence and a sub-collection of the root domain. And I've got the sources over there. For those sources, I've got scans defined. And that is really the scan definition. And that scan definition involves the information. Are there any schemas I would like to skip whenever we talk about the database? Are there classification rules that should be applied? And we're talking about classification rules. Purview comes with more than 200 different classifications. And every classification, the classification itself, it's just the tag that is applied. We've got classification rules. And we can also define our custom rules. And I think I mentioned that example. I've got my customers, Wolfie's customers. That is the tag. And I've got some classification rules over there. So it's regular expressions. Oh my God. If you like them, you can do it. But you can use regular expressions. You can use data dictionaries, and you can define the matching level and so on. So that is the process of defining and filling our data map. And when it's done, I move to the data catalog. And the data catalog, you can start and browse your data catalog based on the source types. For example, you want to have a look at your Azure SQL services, at some databases, but that is not I would really say the approach how to use a data catalog. It's more like we want to search for pieces in our data catalog. I search for customer, and what I get back is a list of data assets, like 95 plus data assets. They somehow contain customer somewhere. So it's central customer list, which is an Azure SQL database table, sorry. I've got a business glossary item, customer, some parts in the data lake, and you can drill down and use that graph information to filter. For example, I need information about my customers. So if I filter that down based on the classifications over here, yeah, it's only 4 elements that are returned. And you can filter down based on who's the contact, what are the assigned business terms, and so on. But I open the detail of the central customers list here. On the right side, we see some of the relationships, like what's the collection, where's it stored into, what's the hierarchy in the technical side, so what's the database, and also what are the glossary terms that are applied. On the left part, we've got some schema classification information. As you can see, we've got that tag, there's an email address in there, there are world cities in there, and also there is information about my customers in there. And all those pieces that you can see here are somehow automatically filled during the classification process, but you can, if you have the right, you can open the edit mode and update the classifications and so on. So that is the thing. You start with the automatically filled information from the classification processes, but you can add your own information. And what is really important, I talked about responsibilities, people, and so on. You can define the experts, you can define the data owners, and you can use that to filter all your search results down to that. But another thing, yeah, schema, I talked about that one. You can even start request access workflow over here. So you can define workflows, and the owner of that data asset or the database, for example, gets an information and provides you with the access. What is really, really nice is the lineage view. So zoom in a little bit to that one. I've got my central customers list over here, and with all the pieces put together, different scans of different data sources, different data transformation systems that put information in there, we can see that that table is filled using different steps and different sources. So we've got the CRM database over here. We've got some files in the data lake. And what you can even do is you can track down data lineage based on the column level. So I've got the customer number column over here, which you can see, well, it's fed by the CRM number, customer number, and so on. So the data lineage, it's more to understand your data supply chain. And that's it for the short demo of the data catalog. Is any one of you in the Teams meeting? But let's see, I think there was some chat trying to get in. Okay, it's, yeah, thank you, Ben. Please provide us with feedback. So it was the feedback link and not. If you have any questions, please unmute or put your question in the chat, and I will try to answer. And now it's time for chapter number 3. It's Microsoft Fabric time. The thing everybody in the Microsoft data world, I think, yeah, more than everybody talks about, uses, likes to use, and is like keen to really know more about it. What is Fabric? Well, if you had the chance to build some analytics things and architectures in Azure, it wasn't that easy to really build the ideal solution, to choose the right services for that specific project, to add security, to add the different needs for data transformation, data preparation, machine learning, and so on and so forth. There was and is a huge range of different services that are available, but maybe it's too much of those services. Maybe it's not too easy to find the right mixture of those services. And when it comes to consulting, the first question usually is, how much does it cost? So that is really a thing. It's not that easy to really give a specific estimate of the cost for a modern data warehouse solution in Azure, because it really depends on. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's really like Azure Data Services. I think that's the only reaction we can get to that one. If there's another question or another comment, yeah, please feel free to unmute. So it's not that easy to really find the ideal solution and choose. So 3 years ago, I remember there was a thing introduced that was called and is called Synapse Analytics, which really went into that direction, build one common user interface for all the pieces and tasks that should be done for data analytics, data integration, data preparation, using different kinds of analytic runtimes, SQL-based, Apache Spark, Python notebooks, and all that stuff that all the different people from the data teams are working with and are good with. So it's really the thing. I started my career in SQL. And when we did our first IoT project, I solved some data preparation using Spark SQL in like 50 lines of SQL code. It ran, but my colleague, he's a data scientist, and he saw that code and he said, there's one Python library and it's 2 lines of Python code. And that was the thing where I started to really have a look at all the other things, not all the other things, some other things. And now it's like, whenever there's a library or a good solution in Python, I choose to work with Python and not SQL only, let's call it that way. So it's really the approach. You have different people, you have different good knowledge in different technologies. Why not let the people use the knowledge they already know? So yeah, I think I talked about that one. Why was it hard to build a data warehouse in Azure? The different tools, choose the right ones. We had different people in our teams, from low to pro code developers, those hardcore SQL and Python developers. And on the other side, we had those people that know how to right click in Power Query and build a data flow on the other side. So it's really the different knowledge pieces. And we had different storage mechanisms. If we imported data into a data lake and then put it into a dedicated pool, for example, data was copied and duplicated. So we had 2 pieces of that information, same information, but different storage mechanisms and cost and licensing. And what about data governance? Well, yeah, that was maybe another question the Fabric team had during their planning meetings and implementation meetings. And this year, May Build a conference, Microsoft Fabric was introduced, and it's analytics as a service. So all the different workloads, all the different engines we were talking about, data warehousing, data lake, notebooks using Python, SQL, Transact SQL, for data transformation, pipelines to get data into your environment. They are called experiences and workloads. So we've got experiences for data factory, data transformation. We've got experiences for data engineering, data warehousing, data science, Power BI, and also to react on your data with the data activator. And what really makes Fabric different is the one lake, because that one lake, it's a data lake, but it's a one lake that is provisioned automatically for every Fabric tenant. You don't have to instantiate, configure your data lakes. And what really makes it, or brings it to the next level, every of that workloads stores and reads data out of the one lake. And they talk the same language. There is no data duplication because the data warehousing stores the data in one lake using Parquet files and based on that delta tables to really have that kind of transactional feeling in your data lake. And if your data is prepared using the data warehouse, you can use Power BI on that side that is able to read the same piece of information, the same delta table. So no data duplication. Every one of those workloads talks the same language. And when talking about costs, it's easier, it seems, or it seemed at the beginning. There are capacities. So every experience uses a capacity. So you need to create a workspace in your Power BI, in your Fabric environment, assign a capacity to that workspace, and then every one of those experiences grabs some CPU units from that capacity, which makes cost estimations easier because you know, okay, if I license a capacity at that level, it costs me X euros per month. And when we dive down, it's the data lake, the one lake as the central storage. And below that one, we've got the governance and administration. So it's really that level that can be done with the single storage approach, with the one lake on one central piece. So you don't have to care about the different security definitions in the different databases, data lakes, and so on. You can define in the future using the one security approach the definition and the security at one place. So as you can see here, we've got the one lake, the one security. It's the layer that really allows you in the future to define all your security definitions at one place, and every one of those workloads has to go through the one security layer. That sounds nice, I would say, in the beginning. We've got one place, the data lake, the one lake where data is stored. We've got one tool. We've got one security, which should allow us a better data governance. But let's see what's already in there. So we've got the data catalog, the Microsoft Purview data catalog. We've got Fabric on the other side. So open that one and let's see. When we talk about governance and compliance, Microsoft Learn, and it was updated middle of November this year, and it talks about information protection, data loss prevention, endorsement, metadata scanning, lineage. Okay, and the Purview Hub. So let's see what's that all about. Let's search for catalog. Okay. It's by making it possible for cataloging tools to catalog and report all your metadata. So it sounds somehow nice, but it's not the Purview data catalog that is here. Let's look further. So there's another page we can have a look. Microsoft Purview to govern Microsoft Fabric. So let's see what's in there and scroll down. Okay, it's also all the things or most of the things that are coming from the M365 side. And where's my catalog? There's a new thing. That one is really like almost brand new. That was added in last week, 2 weeks ago, where the Purview catalog, because usually when I do that session, I said, there's no real integration. Now we've got somehow a little bit of integration, but I wanted to point that one out. They will work on a more closer relationship on that one. But there are some pieces that from Microsoft Purview are in Microsoft Fabric and can be used. So let's see what's in there. When we head over to the Purview portal, where is it? It's over here. Head over to the data map, to the data sources, and start here. And if I'm able to type, okay, there's a Fabric connector. And since this week, since last week, there's another way of connecting your data catalog with the Fabric environment. Before, it looked like that. So you defined a Fabric connection, you did a scan, and what you got back, left side is the screenshot from the Fabric portal, right side is the screenshot from the Purview portal. It was only the Power BI dataset and the report and the dashboard, nothing more. But since last week, there's something else. So let's roll the video, as they usually call it in the demos. There's a live view. So your Purview catalog now allows you to have and browse your Fabric environment. So what you can do, you start with a workspace, you drill down, and within that workspace, you have all the items, the lake houses, the pipelines, the warehouses that are in your workspace. So workspace is open. We've got the Power BI information. We've got data sets in here. You can drill down and you've got the live view, what's in Fabric and what is available there. for Power BI data sets, or semantic models as they are called now. It's the schema, you've got the measures, and you can even drill down to the measure definition at that level. So it's really, there is somehow a connection to get the information from Fabric into your Purview data catalog. But there are more things which are not that obvious and somehow a little bit hidden in the background. Let's start. So with the M365 approach with information protection, sensitivity labels, it's a similar thing to the classification I talked about in the Purview data catalog. Sensitivity labels allow you to classify your data. And when talking about sensitivity labels in M365 information protection or Microsoft Purview information protection, you can define your sensitivity labels and rules on that sensitivity label. So for example, if it's secret data or highly confidential data, that one isn't allowed for people not from our company to be opened. That one, for example, restricts you to export data from Power BI. So there's a tight connection between data stored in SharePoint online, for example. You can apply sensitivity labels on your emails so that data is protected within those items. And you can also define and apply sensitivity labels in your Fabric environment. So let's head over to the Fabric environment. And what you see here, I've got some elements in my demo workspace, and I've also applied some sensitivity labels over here. And what is really, really nice is if I switch to the lineage view, and that is, yeah, I will come to the lineage later on when talking about Fabric and Purview. But what is really nice, I've got a lakehouse over here, and I've got other lakehouses that references that lakehouse. I've got notebooks that use all the other pieces. So what we can do is I can open the settings of that lakehouse, and I can change the sensitivity label. And using that lineage information, if I change it to another, I see the impact. So all the other items that are dependent on that lakehouse where I changed it will get the new sensitivity label. So you don't have to care about updating the sensitivity labels of some artifacts like the notebook or the Power BI semantic model that depends on it. That one is done automatically. So really, really nice. If you change the sensitivity level at the most or the starting point of your data journey, all the child items will inherit the information. So really, really nice. You don't have to really think about that one. Another thing where you should know more about your data in Fabric, in Power BI, in all the other systems, you should know what's going on in your environment. And that one can be done using the audit log of the M365. And that one is now better connected using the new portal. The new Purview portal, if I open all solutions, I've got the direct link to my compliance and the audit environment. And with that environment, we can search for activities that happened in the past in our Fabric environment. So if I search for Fabric activities, I see that there are log entries for viewing Power BI dashboards, creating, updating elements in your Fabric environment. So that one is really, really good to know what's going on in your environment, who did what, and what are the numbers, how often some reports were opened, and so on and so forth. So that one is with the audit log, a nice way to really know more what's going on in your environment. When talking about governance itself, it's also the administrative governance to focus on the things that are configured in your environment. And when talking about configuration in Fabric, the list gets longer and longer and longer. So that one, In the past, it was the Power BI tenant settings. Now it's the Fabric tenant settings. And the scroll bar, it gets longer and longer and longer. And that user interface, I haven't found a person that really likes that user interface. It's not intuitive, it's not user-friendly, and you don't really see what's configured where. What makes it a little bit better, it's that filter box over here. So that one is really nice. I think a month ago they introduced it. In the past, I had to search for Excel if I wanted to have some look at Excel configurations. And using the browser search, I found 3 occurrences. But now, with that search box, if I search for Excel, I get 5 of those tenant settings because it also incorporates the description over there. So that one is really nice. What's also good is there are new or updated tenant settings. So the Fabric team gives us more information. The user interface is nice, but not for documentation and so on. For documentation, there are REST APIs available that allow you to query the tenant settings, export them, and you don't have to build your own solution. There are already community solutions. First one is the Power BI Monitor, which allows you to extract metadata, all the workspaces, the security definitions, and so on. And the other one, more specific around the tenant settings, it's from Just, a data platform MVP, and he built solutions to extract the tenant settings. So what we did is we are extracting tenant settings on a regular base, and we do some mix and matching compared to the last dump we stored, and we can build a report based on that information and show the user, okay, there was a change tenant settings within the last few days. So that is really important if you want to document everything about the tenant settings. One security, I've mentioned that one. It's on the slides, I would call it. It's coming. The Microsoft team would call it soon-ish. I don't know when. But the idea of one security is to build that one security layer over here, and not you as a data warehousing developer have to define object level security, column level security, maybe data masking on specific fields in your data warehouse. That should all move into one security, and you define security rules, you define row level security, data masking, and so on someday in the future, one place. And every of those experiences and workloads, they have the same security definition. Sounds nice. I'm really hoping that it will come soon, because that is one of the showstoppers when talking to customers. Should we invest into Fabric? It's the security part that is still missing. It's the one security part, but also the networking security that is still missing, which for smaller companies, yeah, it's not that big problem, but for bigger enterprises, for specific industries, it's really, really needed. And that one is coming. And network security and one security, well, the idea is there. The implementation, I hope, will be there soon. And domains. I talked about domains in the Purview catalog, and there is a domains concept in Fabric 2. And domains are a way to group data in your Fabric environment. And it's Microsoft. Domains in Purview and domains in Fabric have the same name, but I don't know you. Maybe they will get some sort of introduction in the future. It's a definition in the Fabric environment. So I've got a finance domain over here. You can define subdomains, domain settings, who's allowed to add workspaces to that, who's allowed to contribute. And a consequence of that data domains is, if I move to the data hub, the One Lake data hub, it's your single entry point to all the information pieces in Fabric. You can filter it down by domain. So now it's the list of all my workspaces I'm allowed to access. But if I change it to the finance domain, it's filtered down to only those workspaces that are applied to that domain. So production database or production domain, it's only the workspace number 1 that is assigned. So it's a kind of grouping, and I hope there will be more based on that domains, thinking about permissions and general rules and policies maybe apply on a domain level and inherit down, like sensitivity labels were inherited by referenced artifacts. So domains, good concept, but domains in Perfume, domains in Fabric, same name, but I don't know it. And there is another thing which introduced some confusion. It's the Perfume Hub within Microsoft Fabric. Let's have a look at that one. And there's a Microsoft Perfume Hub preview in your Fabric environment. And if we open that one, it's not the data catalog. It's reporting, I would call it, based on your classification, on your sensitivity labels, and so on. So there are some references to the data catalog. If I open that one, yeah, the Perfume portal opens, but that's really nice. It opens the old portal, not the new one. Maybe there's an update needed, but we've got some reports over here. Open the full report. And with the Perfume Hub, what we get here is our Fabric environment and the level of classification, the level of sensitivity labels applied, the different kinds of artifacts that are in our environment. Like I've got 156 reports in there, 13 notebooks, 13 lakehouses. So more the overview, we can have a look at the sensitivity labels that are applied, how many of them are unlabeled. Like reports, I've got more than 85% that are unlabeled. We can have an inventory report, what is in my dashboard in a day, who's allowed to access that one, and so on and so forth. And that is the Perfume Hub. So it's not the data catalog integration. It's like reporting based on your Fabric environment. And the report itself, it got an update. So that page looked different some days ago. We now can have also a look at the certification promoted and so on. So it's really an ongoing approach, but it's not the direct integration with the Perfume data catalog and so on. It's more like reporting based on the things that are in your Fabric environment. Some screenshots, and now data lineage. Data lineage is there in two worlds, in the Perfume data catalog, which does a very good job with the data lineage when dealing with SQL databases, data factory pipelines, and so on. And there's the lineage view in the Fabric environment, which does a very good job when dealing with data lineage of Fabric items. And it does a good job, not the best job, because in the beginning there were like arrows and references in the wrong direction, so that pipeline writes in, or that, yeah, it was confusing in the beginning. It's getting better. And what you see in the lineage view, it's all the artifacts that are in there. So starting with lakehouses, pipelines that are transforming the data, notebooks that are using data from a lakehouse and maybe writing it to another part in your one lake. We've got warehouses in there. We've got semantic models. We've got Power BI reports, paginated reports, and these interactive reports. So all the information, and you can even track down the impact. So if you change, and we've seen it in the demo with the sensitivity labels, if I change something here, there's an impact on all the referenced artifacts over there. So data lineage, very, very important when dealing with your data supply chain. Another thing, data quality. I don't know if Oliver and Tillman have those demos in their session, but Data Wrangler is a thing they should add to their session today in the afternoon. No, just kidding. Data Wrangler is integrated in Fabric. And what we can do is I just read Titanic.csv from a public data source. And whenever the Spark cluster started and read that data into the data frame, we can start the Data Wrangler. And the Data Wrangler, it's an add-in where we can start and profile the content that is in the data frame. So move over here, finding data frames, and choose that one. And what we get is a similar thing compared to the Power Query data profiling view. So the data distribution, we see how many of the column informations are missing, are there empty ones, what's the distribution, and so on. And what you can do is you can add more specific data quality preparation steps. And you can add that code over here, and at the end, you can apply that and put that back into a notebook. So it's really having a first look on your data, how's it distributed, what's missing. As you can see, we've got no duplicates for that specific column. So really good start to better know your data. Maybe we see a demo today in the afternoon. Let's see. And that tweet is here. Bad data in, it's bad data out. So if you don't treat your data better, well, you don't really have some good data to work on. And with that, I'm at the end of our journey talking about the love relationship between Fabric and Purview. I think, to be honest, it's a good start, and the relationship increases and gets better almost every week, like with the live connection from Purview data catalog into the Fabric environment. That one is really, really nice. So I would put the heart over here. So it's a love thing, definitely. And within the next few months and quarters, when there's the one security over there, the networking security, and all the improvements, maybe the domains from the Fabric side get to know the other domains from the Purview side. So data lineage, maybe some improvements on that part, but it's already working well together, and the future is bright. And I'm looking forward to another journey together with those three members, maybe in a few months. With that, thank you, everyone. Feedback link is in the chat. Happy to hear and get your feedback if you liked it, and also if you don't like it. If you don't like it, tell me why you don't like it. And Oliver and Tillman, don't put because you have to change your session in there. Yeah. Waves at the screen. With that, thank you. I'm Wolfgang, data consultant, and treat your data better. Thank you.